Alright, so we got our car primed and we've waited approximately a week after prime job. Now it's time to start getting down, getting ready, and start block sanding it to paint it. Now we're talking about our 1969, that's a 69, I've been saying 68. The owner informed me it's a 69 model, 396 SS fucking Chevelle that we're working on. This is our muscle car makeover. And what we're fucking doing today is we're gonna go ahead and paint the black. Now, if you look at the back panel there, the trunk panel, you're gonna see right there, there's the holes for the chrome. Well, in between that chrome is supposed to be black. Now, we got our guide coat on there. We're gonna go ahead and wet sand that with 400, and then we're gonna paint it black, but we're not just gonna paint it black and make it gloss black. We're gonna go ahead and do the factory look. We're gonna paint it semi-gloss black, using a special clear coat. Hey, why are you doing that? Trying to explain to people what's going on here, and you got the air hose going.
Air must blow. It's not just air out of your big mouth. We're actually trying to do work here, man.
I'm trying to explain to people what the situation is on the muscle car makeover.
I know,
and
Pete.
You're making things harder for me by
why? Because I'm working?
And all this
because
stuff.
I'm working?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. See, I have to have a block. It makes it quicker and easier if you have a block.
Yeah, and it also gums the paper up quicker. On a small piece like that.
No gum.
But
Look
on a
at that.
small
No
piece
gum.
like this, you can actually go ahead and use your hand. Now, what are you sanding it with?
320.
Okay, so you're block sanding this piece out with 320 instead of wet sanding it. And because what this is going to be painted black as well. Now, what I was trying to explain to people is that this isn't going to be a high gloss black. All right, this is going to be a semi-gloss black, just like the factory. Exactly, satin finish. So keep sanding that, and don't forget you got to sand the bottom of it as well.
I know.
No respect for the owner of the shop. No respect at all.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
So what I was trying to explain before I was rudely interrupted is that what we're going to use here, we're going to use a special clear. What the fuck? Now I'm getting interrupted by him.
Tell him, boy. Tell him.
Now what is your problem? You can't have any yellow tape. Now shut up. No. Contain your dog, man.
He's your dog. I don't claim him at all. He's yours.
So real quick, because we got to get to work, we got a loudmouth dog and an interrupting wife here that likes to interrupt. What we're using here, we're using a product called Flex and Flat. This is a clear made by a very high quality company that makes paints and clear coats, and this is the clear that we're going to use to put on our pieces. Let's get them wet sanded so we can get the clear out of the can and start painting the pieces and get her done. Alright, so on our muscle car makeover, sometimes it requires more than one color to do it properly. Now this car is going back to factory original, and on the factory original paint job that this car came from the factory, it had, right in this area here, it was black. I think I've already said that several times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my block. This is a blue block. It's got the holes on this side, which is the sanding side, and then this would be the side that you use for cutting through your top coat of your primer. And what we'll do is we'll gently go over it with this side first, cutting the top coat. Now when I say top coat, when you put primer or anything on a vehicle such as this or any other vehicle, there's always like a hard surface. Once you break through that skim coat or the skin of the primer itself, then you flip your block over and then you want to get it sanded properly. We're going to go ahead and use 180 grit to start with, then we'll break it down to 320, and we got to be real careful because we don't want to break through the primer down to the metal, or in this case, the old paint. Now, it's very important to use a guide coat when block sanding. And if we look in this area right here, we're going to see that there's a lot of pits and a lot of deep scratches going on right here. And this is why we use a guide coat on everything that we do. You can see just by lightly sanding it that there's a lot of imperfections going on and a lot of sanding that has to be done. That's why it's important to make sure that you use a guide coat whenever you're sanding. You can see right in this area right here that there's a lot of deep scratches going on as well, and this is from our first block sand that we did. And I also noticed that we will probably be breaking through our primer on this job due to the fact that this car was very heavily painted and we had to do some extreme block sanding when we started this car. But that's once again the reason we have epoxy primer, and when we get to that stage I'll show you what I'm talking about. So now that we went ahead and busted through our skim coat of the primer, it's now time to go ahead and turn our attention toward the other side of our block. Now this is a special block, and I'm going to go ahead and give you the name of it. It's called a blue block. And the situation you have is it's got the perforated holes on it. Now, having those perforated holes and using a block like this is very, very good for block sanding because it creates a suction a feel, you might say. It's a suction resistant type situation that helps you sand it properly and keep a nice uniform, even sand job as you're going. So this block here is a must if you want to make sure that your muscle car makeover comes out proper. And from this point on, most of the sanding we do, not everything, but most of it, is going to be sanded by hand only. Now's the time that we have really got to pay attention to our guide coat and make sure that we get all the deep scratches out and all of the imperfections. Using that guide coat as a tool, a visual tool, is going to accomplish what we are trying to do here. And I was telling you about busting through primers down to metals and this, that, and the other. If that happens, you got two choices. You can rely on your epoxy primer to cover everything up before you paint, which that's what we're going to do. But if you don't feel comfortable and you don't know how to use your epoxy primer properly, then the best thing to do is once you block it out with your 180 to reprime the surface and then come back with 320 and sand it down to the finished product of refinishing it in paint. And I believe that this now is ready to go ahead and put our paint on. Now there is one thing the owner wanted me to fill these holes in right here, which kind of fucking sucks because that just gave us a little bit more work. But as far as refinishing it, this is now ready for refinishing. And I want to show you one more thing here. And this is another important issue that I got to go over. This is 400 wet. This is called 400 wet sandpaper. And then this would be 180 dry. All right. So 180 dry sandpaper is equivalent to 400 wet, just to let you know. And then if you bring it to 320, that would be equivalent to 600 wet. So you can actually block your whole car out using 180 dry as long as you keep the paper clean and not get it all gummy where it's going to put scratches in it. If you can block it out with dry sandpaper and you know how to do the dry sand blocking job, you can go ahead and dry sand it and not even worry about wet sanding. I prefer the wet sanding over the dry sanding. We're using dry sanding first on this car, then we'll go back with our 400. But on this little piece right here, we're not going to wet sand that. That's just a dry sand job, and then we'll go ahead and refinish it from there. ready to go. I was going to go ahead and paint the black today. I was going to go ahead and get it done on our muscle car makeover, but it's not going to happen today. And the reason it's not going to happen is because our body work turned out to be just a little bit more extensive than we thought. And I really wasn't happy with paint bleeding through anyway, so I was going to have to reprime this. But if you look right there in that area, you're going to see where the dealer tag used to be on these old cars. These were the pot metal type dealer tags that they used to make, and then they would drill 2 holes and then screw them in there or what have you. And the owner requested that he didn't want those anymore, so I went ahead and spot welded them up and then filled them in and feathered everything out with some Evercoat polyester filler. And now we're going to have to go ahead and reprime that before we paint anything, because we want to make sure that our muscle car makeover is top-notch, top quality. We don't want to rush through it and throw it in the trash, you might say, and then when it's all done, it's just a big pile of trash. What we do want to do is take our time and nurture the situation, because the situation that we have is there's solutions for everything, and the solution to this problem is we won't be painting nothing today, and it will take another day before we can even think about painting the black line, you might say, the black mark on our Chevelle. But that's the deal that you have when you're doing a muscle car makeover. You can't rush it, you can't scuff and paint, you might say. You got to take your time and do it right. We're going to go ahead and spot prime that area and probably be back tomorrow sanding it down so we can paint the rear trunk extension area, and then of course our front bumper filler. The owner informed me that from the factory this was actually black, so we're going to go ahead and paint that black as well. And then once we get that done, hopefully we'll be down the road to block sanding this car out and getting it in paint, and then down the road back to the owner. All right, we got everything ready to paint. We're going to go ahead and paint our bumper filler. This is our bumper filler. It goes on the front of the car right below the grill. And then of course we got the back end that's going to be painted black. And you can see that I went ahead and taped that off. I did the body work that was necessary over there on the left corner of the vehicle, right in that area, right in there. And then we went ahead and reprimed that whole section instead of just spot priming it. And it's ready to paint as well. This is going to be semi-gloss black, just like the bumper filler itself, using a base coat clear coat paint with a semi-gloss clear. And here's a good tech tip right here. You can see how I wrapped it around all the way approximately 1.5 inches into the vehicle. That way when we put our tail light extensions on, which are right there, those are our tail light extensions. That's going to cover all this right in here, and then that black will go inside and roll around, which will give it a nice professional good look. Instead of stopping the tape right on the edge right here, it's always better to go inside there like that, and yeah, you kind of get the idea. So let's go ahead and get this painted, and at the same time, if you see the car behind me right there, we're going to go ahead and paint the back of that car as well. It's going to be black, but it's going to be a high gloss black. So we'll go ahead and put some Intercoat clear on that to protect it until we paint the whole car. We're trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here, but our main concern is our muscle car makeover, which is our 69 Chevelle. I've been saying 68, but it's actually a 69. Once this is done, then we can go ahead and start dismantling parts and get the car painted itself in blue paint. Let's get the black painted. We'll be back when we're done. All right, there you go. We went ahead and painted both of our pieces. This is our front bumper filler panel. And when we look at that later on, now I just got done clear coating it, so it takes approximately 12 hours to actually dry and cure 100%. That will be a semi-gloss clear, which will be almost flat, and it will really look nice. So we got that painted, and then we also went ahead and painted the back part of our vehicle, our Chevelle, where the black stripe is inside the rear filler panel of the trunk. And that again will be flat. It'll be a semi-gloss flat black when it's all done, and it will match the OME spec fucking look when all the car is completely finished. We've done a lot of work on our muscle car makeover. We have meticulously done all the body work. We've done rust repair. We have completely removed every piece of fucking trim on this car. We're getting ready to take the back glass out of the car. This is a big fucking job. This is a big job. We've been working on this car off and on now for approximately 2 months, and it's looking pretty good. I mean, that's the situation you got. You got to be able to take your time, and you got to be able to enjoy what you're doing. The next step that we will proceed with on this vehicle is we'll go ahead and remove the doors. We're going to take the front fenders, the hood off, and then we'll go ahead and start block sanding and wet sanding the body of the car so we can get that painted. And then we'll go ahead and paint all the bolt-on pieces, and as we're painting the bolt-on pieces and they're getting done, we'll be able to bolt them back on the car so they won't be sitting around and hanging around. And then once that's done, we'll be putting this baby back together and hopefully shipping it out to South Carolina, back to the owner. I'm sure he's missing his 396 big block Chevelle and praying and hoping that nothing's happening to it over here. So we've started our painting process, and it's looking pretty good. And I am happy with the way that the block sanding came out. You can see that the sand job on this doesn't show any imperfection or any scratches or any nipples or orange peel or fisheye or anything. It's just a good fucking job. And if you take your time, that's the kind of job you're going to get, is a good fucking job. That's what we're looking at here, and that's what my friend Pete's trying to teach you, is to take your time and do it right. If you can't do it right, then stop immediately, sit down, think about the situation, and start over. Don't worry about fucking shit up, because it's just a thing. It's a thing that says, you know what, I fucked it up, but so what? Tomorrow I'll wake up, it'll be a brand new day, and I'll start over until it's done right. We'll be back on our muscle car makeover and see where we're at then. Take it easy.
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.